Hello, welcome to our channel. It's Rafael Gutierrez, and today I'm going to talk about a story that's in the Tales of Okinawa's Great Masters, and it's about Minamoto and the Bull. I'm sorry, not Matsumura and the Bull. And one of the things, there's actually a lot of interesting things to that story, which deals with philosophy, but also there's a lot of it that has to do with certain behavioral experiments that had actually been done before, namely the ones in conditioning. But I will get to that later, because one of the things, I actually have a list here to let me know what I'm actually talking about. One of the things I actually did come across is a question about, is martial arts a religious practice? And I do want to address that, but I also want to address something that is actually interesting. I think is really interesting, and that is how people believe in something, and when evidence is shown that proves otherwise, a lot of times they don't want to see that. They want to believe. And again, I've actually mentioned this in the last video. There's two types of people, those who want to know and those who want to believe. And there are a lot of people out there who have their whole ideas based on certain things, and they will believe even if you show them everything to the contrary. And, if that's how they want to be, that's their deal. But they actually have to always remember that that pretty much limits their martial art training or anything they do in life. So, first I will actually address the idea of martial arts as a religion. Now, a lot of the old masters did have ideas and did have some sort of philosophies that they tended to hold really dearly. For instance, Shoshin Nagamine, from what everyone told me, he was really big into Buddhism, and so a lot of the things that he brought into his martial arts were Buddhist. Now, does that mean that Matsubayashi Ryu or other lineages that tended to deal with Shoshin Nagamine have roots in Buddhism? I would say that's not necessarily the case. Now, a lot of people, there may be some rituals from Buddhism that are brought into it, but the art itself, the martial art, is the idea being it's a fighting art. Now, I'm going to actually, instead of using the Asian martial arts or even yoga, I'm going to actually use a sport, a Western sport such as football. Now, in some places, football players get together, get on one knee, and pray. And when you watch professional football games, a lot of times you end up seeing the professional athletes and they thank Jesus for their season and their God, and that's commendable. That's what they believe, but that's actually one of the things that people have to look at. While people can bring in their religion into sports, it doesn't make that sport part of a religion. For instance, if you ask most Christians, is football a Christian sport? I think they would probably look at you and wondering what you're talking about. Just because people pray doesn't make the activity religious. It just makes the person who is doing that act is following their religion. And so a lot of times when people start talking about, oh, martial arts, this is a religious thing, and so I'm this religion, so I can't. It's really not actually understanding what's going on. It's an activity, and the activity, while it may have philosophies that come together because of certain religions, it doesn't make that martial art a religious martial art. Now, I will say I have actually seen some people who are really great marketing, and they love using this religion as a martial art. For instance, if you drive by your local strip mall and if they have a yoga place, they will actually say, get your Zen on. And ironically, Zen being a Japanese concept based on a Chinese concept, and they're teaching an Indian art. Or they may have a picture of the Buddha, and yet yoga is a Hindu type of activity. Maybe Hindu was where we think it probably came from. But the thing is, we actually have a lot of people who will actually use this religion to give authenticity. But in truth, the art is completely different, or the activity is completely different from religion. Just like, you don't have to be Christian to play football. You don't have to be a good Christian to play football either. But people will bring their religion into any activity they do. And so that's one of the big things. Now, when people are sold their martial art as a religion. It does actually get this idea of this is what I'm told, this is reality, and I cannot go against it because it goes against my style and my religion. Well, you think of what the purpose of a martial art was. It was to teach fighting techniques originally. They then ended up finding out that it did a lot of other things that you could actually benefit from. So those are actually good too. But the idea that you can't change stuff, it's actually kind of ridiculous. If you actually go to Shoshin Nagamini's books, you actually will find that one of the things he says is sometimes you have to replace the old with something new. But don't throw away all the old stuff just because it's old doesn't mean you can't use it, and just because it's new doesn't mean you can't use it. Now, one of the things that I did is when I talked about boxing, a lot of people punches. A lot of people said, well, boxers don't punch like that, or well, I don't like your data. But the thing is, it is data. Yeah, if you don't like it, you can recreate it. You can actually put up a makiwara, put the strips, see what type of numbers you get. Now, besides that, though, I actually ended up finding a couple articles when I was doing this about punches. And a couple of the things that I found in multiple articles, not just one, but in about 4 of the articles that I found on punching and measuring punches, is that they found that body weight doesn't have as much of an effect on punch power as you would think. What they kept on finding is alignment actually had more of a reason for power in even Olympic style athletes. And so that's actually one of the big things that ended up being interesting to me is all the research, well, most people, oh, the bigger the better. Most of the research said, no, the better technique is actually the better, not the bigger the better, which is kind of an interesting thing because, again, a lot of people tell you, oh, well, all you have to do is get bigger and stronger. And one of the funny things about this is one of the studies actually said that as people were lifting to get bigger, bulkier muscles, they became slower, and it actually interfered with the amount of power and the amount of force that they were able to produce. Meaning these big, bulky masses a lot of times weren't as fast or as strong as their lighter counterparts. They actually did find that some of the mid and lightweight boxers could punch harder than some of the heavyweight fighters in a couple of the articles, which I did find interesting. But about Matsumura and the bull. For those of you who don't know the story is one of the kings wants to see if, this is paraphrasing, wants to see if one of his men, Matsumura, could beat a bull in a fight. And so he tells Matsumura he's going to fight the bull. Matsumura tells him he needs a couple months to train. Now, some of you have heard of other martial artists trying to take on bulls. And some of them have been able to do it, broken their horns and whatever. But some of these have actually, people who have done it, eventually stopped because they got gorged by a bull. Now, you've all heard that one expression, if you mess with a bull, you'll get the horns. Well, I guess that's actually the case in a lot of things. I mean, you have an animal which is nothing but muscles, well, actually brain, bones, and muscles. That's not something you want to go against if you're, let's say a 100-pound man versus a 200-pound 2,000-pound bull. So, Matsumura, rather than fighting it, took time and supposedly trained. And the story goes that when he goes into the arena, he's wearing an unusual outfit and rings a specific bell. The bull, as soon as he sees him, runs away, tries to get as far away from him as he could. And everyone laughs, saying, oh, look, he was so powerful that even the bull didn't want to do that. Well, here's actually the thing that ends up happening, though. We find out later in the story that what happened is, in the month that it took for the event to take place, Matsumura was going into pretty much the stables where the fighting bull was, with that uniform and doing stuff to it to scare it, to get it to associate himself with pain and displeasure. So as he did this, the bull ended up getting that association. So when he saw him, he of course, and rang the bell, he of course went to the other edge. And a lot of people say, well, could this happen? Well, let's take a look at someone named, which is known in philosophy, in physiology and psychology, Pavel. Pavel was a physiologist who wanted to see if he could actually get dogs to salivate when he rang a bell. And so he measured the He put instruments on the salivary glands. He rang a bell right before he fed the dogs. And what he found is eventually the dogs heard the bell, and even whether they had food or not, they started salivating. They had actually been conditioned to respond, to get a physiological response to an auditory cue. It wasn't natural, so he talked about classical conditioning. And in life, in psychology, they've done many of these experiments where people have actually been able to show that you can actually train something by conditioning certain things with it. You can actually associate certain memories with certain smells, certain sights, certain sounds. And that's pretty much what Matsumura did. Is he conditioned the bull to be able to recognize that if he came in with a certain uniform, made a certain sound, and looked a certain way, that the bull was going to experience something unpleasant. And so what it did is, rather than try to face him, it ran away. It actually does match a lot of, like I said, a lot of these experiments, and so it's kind of nice to see that. Now, I did take a break from the Makiwara and the hits. I am going to go do some more of those because I really love the Fujifilm pressure, what is it called, pressure skill. I actually, if you really want to do your own research, I think it's one of the best things to do, to use, because you get immediate results. It's easy, which is a really big thing, and uh, it's relatively affordable. I mean, 50 cents, you get a thing the size of a sheet of paper, and you can cut and use just what you need. Uh, I hope you enjoyed this video. I also do want to talk about, if anyone's interested, I should be at the Peaceful Warriors Martial Art and Healing Center in February. I will be doing one of their seminars, mostly on anatomy of injuries. I'll probably use one of the katas and go with that. So I will stop talking. Next week I will have something different. I hope you enjoyed this video. Have a nice day.